across the frozen wilderness. Shadows begin moving silently between the trees. A gray wolf pack has already locked onto the trail ahead, reading movement, wind, and weakness across miles of open terrain. Unlike solitary predators, wolves survive through coordination, patience, and relentless endurance that can exhaust even the largest animals in the wild. From deep snowfields to dark forest valleys, every chase becomes a battle between teamwork and survival. Because once the pack begins closing in, the wilderness changes instantly.
Across the frozen tundra of northern Alaska, a herd of reindeer moves steadily through deep snow while icy wind sweeps across the open plain. The herd stays tightly grouped together, constantly watching the empty white landscape surrounding them. Then wolves appear along the ridge. The pack spreads out across the snow with calm precision, tracking the herd from multiple directions, instead of rushing directly into the center. In the Arctic wilderness, wolves often rely on endurance and coordination to pressure larger animals over long distances. The reindeer immediately begin moving faster across the frozen ground. Snow bursts beneath pounding hooves as the herd pushes toward a narrow crossing, between patches of deep drifts and exposed ice. But the wolves continue closing the distance, forcing the animals to stay in constant motion across the open tundra. Gradually, one younger reindeer begins losing ground in the heavy snow.
End the battle.
The pack tightens formation as the chase disappears beyond the frozen ridge beneath the endless Arctic wind, leaving only drifting snow and distant movement fading into the white wilderness. Snow sweeps across the Yellowstone Valley as a herd of bison stands shoulder to shoulder against the approaching wolves. Some of the massive bulls weigh more than 2,000 pounds, and as long as the herd holds formation, the predators keep their distance. But the wolves are waiting for movement. Slowly, the pressure begins building around the herd until the bison finally break into a run across the deep snow. Heavy bodies crash through the drifts, while the wolves surge forward behind them, spreading across the valley in search of weakness. The snow quickly begins draining the herd's energy. One younger wolf rushes too close and nearly gets caught beneath the powerful hooves of a fleeing calf, forcing him backward through the snow. The older lead wolf reacts differently, staying locked onto a younger bison struggling to keep pace through the frozen terrain. And as the chase disappears deeper into the winter wilderness, the wolves continue following relentlessly through the storm. Winter settles heavily across Yellowstone as snow deepens through the valley and icy wind moves between the trees. For wolves, this is the season that slowly weakens even the strongest animals in the wilderness. A massive bull elk now stands trapped beside a freezing river. The wolf pack circles carefully through the snow, but none of them rush directly into the water. The current is dangerously cold, and one mistake here could be just as deadly for the predators as for the elk itself. The bull holds his ground. Towering antlers swing toward every wolf that moves too close, while freezing water crashes around his legs. A younger female edges closer through the snow, probing for an opening, before the bull suddenly swings its antlers toward her, forcing the wolf back from the icy shoreline. For now, strength still belongs to the bull. But the wolves remain patient along the snowy shore, while icy water slowly drains warmth and energy from the exhausted animal.
They won't follow.
In Yellowstone, winter rarely decides the outcome in a single moment. It changes the balance little by little, until even the strongest begin to lose ground against the cold. As winter storms continue sweeping across Yellowstone, the wolf pack returns to a sheltered ridge hidden deep within the pine forest. Here, away from the open valleys and hunting grounds, younger wolves wait near the safety of the den site. The hunt is not only about survival for the adults anymore. Several younger wolves follow closely behind the older pack members, watching every movement after long days spent crossing frozen rivers and deep snowfields. In wolf packs, hunting knowledge is passed through experience, season after season, across generations. One young wolf becomes too eager. As the pack moves through the trees, the younger animal rushes ahead toward a small deer hidden near the brush line. The sudden movement immediately scatters the target deeper into the forest, before the rest of the pack can react. The older wolves stop instantly. No energy is wasted chasing blindly through the snow. Instead, the pack regroups calmly beneath the frozen trees, while the younger wolf slowly circles back through the drifting snow beside them. In the wilderness, endurance alone is not enough for wolves. Survival also depends on discipline, timing, and learning when patience matters more than speed. Snow falls lightly across the forest as the wolf pack moves along the edge of its territory beneath the dark pine trees. Scent markings left along rocks, fallen logs, and narrow trails quietly warn other predators that this land is already claimed. Then distant howls echo through the valley. Another pack is nearby. The older wolves stop immediately, lifting their heads toward the sound, while younger members tighten formation behind them. During winter, territory becomes critical. Hunting grounds, migration routes, and access to prey can determine whether a pack survives the harsh season ahead. The tension spreads silently through the forest. Shadows begin appearing between the trees as wolves from the rival pack move closer through the snow-covered terrain. Neither side rushes recklessly into direct conflict. Instead, both groups hold formation carefully while testing distance and numbers across the frozen woodland. For several long moments, the valley remains completely still, except for the wind moving through the pines. Then the rival pack slowly turns away into the forest shadows, disappearing beyond the snowy ridge, while the resident wolves continue holding their ground beneath the falling snow. Summer finally reaches the Arctic tundra, covering the valleys with fresh grass after months of brutal winter cold. For musk oxen, the short season offers a rare chance to feed and recover, especially for mothers, guiding newborn calves across the open plain. But on the tundra, nowhere is truly hidden. Arctic wolves move silently across the landscape, searching constantly for vulnerable prey among the scattered herds. A young muskox calf quickly draws their attention. The wolves suddenly surge forward. Several split around the herd, forcing confusion across the tundra while the frightened calf struggles to stay beside its mother. For a brief moment, the young animal becomes separated from the protection of the group. Then the herd reacts instantly. Adult musk oxen rush inward, forming a tight defensive circle with heavy horns facing outward toward the approaching wolves. Safely at the center, the calf remains protected while the pack searches unsuccessfully for an opening around the wall of moving horns. Gradually, the wolves begin backing away across the tundra. On the open Arctic plain, survival does not always belong to the fastest animal. Sometimes it belongs to the herd willing to stand together. Under the endless daylight of the Arctic summer, caribou herds spread across the tundra in search of fresh grazing. Calves born only weeks earlier struggle to keep pace as the migration moves steadily across rivers, mudflats, and open grasslands. Far behind the herd, wolves continue following. Summer changes the hunt completely. Deep snow no longer slows the caribou, and the open tundra offers little cover for an ambush. Instead, the wolves rely on patience, shadowing the herd for miles, while waiting for signs of weakness or separation. The pressure slowly begins building. As the herd move through uneven ground near a marshy valley, several calves drift farther from the protection of the larger adults. The wolves immediately spread out across the tundra, forcing confusion through the moving herd without wasting energy in a reckless chase. For a few tense moments, the migration breaks apart across the summer plain. Then the caribou regroup and continue deeper into the Arctic wilderness, while the wolves remain close behind, still moving with the herd beneath the endless northern sky. By late summer, the younger wolves have grown large enough to begin joining the pack on longer hunts across the tundra. But strength alone is not enough to survive in the northern wilderness. The young wolves still have much to learn. As the pack moves through a valley filled with tall grass and scattered brush, a snowshoe hare suddenly bursts from cover ahead. One of the younger wolves immediately rushes forward, chasing wildly across the open ground, while the others remain behind, watching carefully. The hare changes direction instantly. Within seconds, the younger wolf loses balance in the uneven terrain and tumbles through the grass, while the small animal disappears safely into the brush. Nearby, the older wolves barely react. For experienced hunters, wasted energy can become dangerous. The younger wolf slowly rises and rejoins the pack, while the adults continue moving calmly through the valley, still focused on larger opportunities deeper in the wilderness. In wolf packs, survival is taught one mistake at a time. As summer finally fades from the northern wilderness, cold wind begins sweeping across the tundra once again. Thin layers of fresh snow spread over the valleys, while migrating herds move farther south ahead of the coming winter. For the wolf pack, the season is changing fast. The younger wolves that spent the summer learning beside the adults now travel confidently with the group through the freezing landscape. Thick winter coats begin replacing their lighter summer fur as the pack prepares for the harsh months ahead. Then the first real storm arrives. Snow pours across the forest and open plains, while the wolves continue moving together through the growing cold. Fresh tracks appear across the untouched snow ahead. Elk returning to the valleys for winter shelter. The older wolves immediately slow their pace. No rushing, no wasted movement, only silent coordination returning to the pack as the wilderness slowly transforms back into the season where wolves become most dangerous. Winter has returned, and the hunt begins again beneath the falling snow.
From the frozen heart of winter to the endless light of the Arctic summer, wolves endure by moving together through a wilderness that never stops changing. They are hunters, teachers, rivals, and protectors, each season shaping the pack in different ways across forests, tundra, and snow-covered valleys. Some journeys end in exhaustion. Others begin with the first snowfall of a new winter. But through every challenge, the pack survives through patience, coordination, and the bond shared between its members. And as fresh snow covers the northern wilderness once again, distant howls fade into the cold night, while the shadows of the pack disappear beyond the trees.